And our Way to a Wonderful Life message for today is titled Mesmerized by the World. Mesmerized by the World. And let's look at these words from the great Charles Fillmore. This is from his book, Prosperity. And so we realize that prosperity means a lot of different things. It means prosperous money, prosperous health, prosperous love, prosperous joy. Prosperous life is the good life. Jesus said, I have come that you may have life, and you may have it more abundantly. That more abundantly is a prosperous life, a joyful life. Charles Fillmore tells us you must prepare your consciousness for the inflow of the universal substance. The inflow of the universal substance. It obeys the law of nature just as does water or any other visible thing and flows into the place prepared for it. It fills everything you hold in your mind, whether vessels or trenches or your purse. It is not advisable to hold for too specific a demand. You might visualize $100 and get it when 1,000 was coming your way. You do not limit the substance to what you think you need or want. Rather, broaden your consciousness and give infinite mind freedom to work, and every good and needful thing will be provided to you. Make your statements broad and comprehensive so that your mind may expand to the infinite rather than trying to cram the infinite into your mind. That's from the great Charles Fillmore, who was a co-founder of the Unity Movement with his wife Myrtle Fillmore, and he founded the School of Practical Christianity in Missouri. So let's just know that it's this prosperity that we bring into our mind is tapping into that abundance that is God. Jesus tells us in the key to life, which is the Lord's Prayer, you give us this day our daily bread. But that daily bread symbolizes everything that makes life wonderful and makes life joyous. So he says, do not limit the substance to what you think you need or want. So rather than say, oh, Father, heal my need is to be healed of a cold, or healed of the flu, or healed of something physical that's going on with my legs or my feet or whatever it may be, or something even more of that which brings us dis-ease in our life, like diabetes or something like that. Say, I affirm that the living spirit of health, which is part of God, is within me, and health reigns supreme in my mind, my heart, and my soul, and in every tissue, organ, and muscle of my body, every atom in my body. And just open it up to create that healing presence for all things, that healing restoration of health in all things that concern us, rather than get into the specifics, because that specific thing may just be something that we became aware of, but there may be something else going on in our mind and our body and our spirit that needs to be healed. So we heal it all with that broader statement of there's a living health, which is a principle that God has created and incarnated in each and every one of us. And as we recognize it and identify it does its perfect work through us, healing us, restoring us, refreshing us, renewing us, then we shall find ourselves feeling that greater experience of health. Now, the great Neville, from his book, Prayer, the Art of Believing, he writes, thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. It is not a strong will that sends the subjective word on its mission, so much as it is a clear thinking and feeling the truth of the statement affirmed. When belief and will are in conflict, belief invariably wins. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you have received them, and you shall have them. That's from the Mastermind Jesus. The acceptance of the end wills the means, and the wisest reflection could not devise more effective means than those who are willed by the acceptance of the end. But yet, and I want to credit that with Neville from his book, Prayer, the Art of Believing, but yet we've been mesmerized by the world to believe that we have to beg God. We have to get on our knees and cry and plead to get the very things that God has created us to experience. God created us to experience health, to experience joy, to experience the abundant life, the joyful life, to use those things that we find into the world that are appealing to us to make our life a life of ease and happiness. Make this life an adventure, something to be excited about, something to be interested in. And if we are interested in life, we have a greater joy in life. It's that being interested in making things better, making things greater, that brings forth that joy in our heart. So many people, they get numbed by the thoughts of the world that tell us that we're just here to experience this life on earth until we go to some far-off heaven, or in some cases this far-off hell, that we're all destined to. This is right here is where we need to live. Right here is where we need to be a part of the livingness and the givingness and the forgivingness of God. Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, not low here or low there. And we read in the ancient scriptures that as within, so without. And I say that over and over and over again because I want to impress it upon our minds, your mind, my mind, and everyone's mind who hears this message. In my work in spiritual counseling, I invariably remind myself that none of us came into this world believing in lack and limitation. None of us came into this world believing in failure or struggle. These are the things that we have learned from the world in which we live. Now, some of these things that we have learned have been taught to us by people with the best of intentions, but this is where we have learned them nonetheless, and this is where we must unlearn them, for lack of a better word. The knowledge of the world and the truth are too often in direct opposition to each other, and both affect our health, our peace of mind, our level of success and prosperity, our happiness, and our joy. That's why Jesus said, don't judge by appearances. Don't judge by appearances. What you see is just momentary. What you see is not permanent. What you see is just that thing that you're experiencing in the moment. But if you experience it in the fullness of faith, and say, there is nothing in me that accepts a limitation. There's nothing in me that accepts dis-ease in my life. There is nothing in me that accepts lack and financial struggle. There's nothing in me that accepts loneliness. There's nothing in me that accepts anything but the glory of God working itself through my mind, my heart, and my soul to reflect out into my life experiences that joyful life, that good life, that wonderful life. In legitimate spiritual scriptures throughout history, we find people who have revealed to us that the Spirit that moves through all our minds is seeking to tell us there is a better way for us to think and believe. The Mastermind Jesus gave us insight into this when he declared, you are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. And in the ancient scriptures, we read that man is the candle of the Lord. And if we believe what Jesus is telling us and what we read in the scriptures, then we must also believe that we are so much more than mere mortals, but the offspring of our Creator, of spirit, of life, of intelligence. And in this realization, we can begin to understand in a greater way the mystical statement, to be in the world but not of it. To be in the world but not of it is to be free from blind ambition, free from greed, free from intellectual pride, free from blind obedience to custom and tradition, or in awe of persons higher in rank or authority. We're here to realize the Spirit within us in a greater way and to let that Spirit be expressed through us, as us, and for us, as we choose to experience things without limitation, without lack, without struggle. All of us take the consciousness of the Spirit within us and develop it and cultivate it into a higher realm of belief and thinking that God is always available to us, that the power of God, the intelligence of God, that even the Spirit of God is available for us to use it through our mind, our heart, and our soul to experience life in a greater way. Now, Neville, the mystical Neville, gives us some food for thought when he writes, it is not what you want that you attract what you believe to be true. So we know that, yes, that is true, because if it's done unto us as we believe, as the Mastermind Jesus tells us, that means that God, infinite spirit, intelligence, and power, is responding to us by corresponding. Just as gravity corresponds to our movement. You know, if we walk, gravity corresponds. If we sit, gravity corresponds. we move our head, gravity corresponds. If we put a book on the table, gravity corresponds. If we hold the book in our hand and drop it to the floor, gravity's corresponding. No matter what it is, it's always a correspondence. And so we know that the law of God is a law of correspondence. As we sow, so shall we reap. In the simple words of Jesus, we know that simple law is everywhere. It's universal. It's everywhere present. It's always with us, never separated from us. And so we must be conscious of it. So it's not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true, Neville says. And this is where we must stop ourselves and ask, are we believing the facts to be that which is true about our situation, our condition, etc.? Because this is a stumbling block for many people, as so often the facts can be very demanding of our attention. Yet the Mastermind Jesus told us emphatically, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Judge righteous judgment. And so the next question is, what is righteous judgment that we want? What is the righteous judgment that we want to be true? And can we believe it is true? We must remember, facts change, but the truth does not. Facts change, but the truth does not. And so this is where we must look to that part of God that is intelligence in order for us to have the realization of truth that we seek. It is intelligent to think it. Is it intelligent to think that our Creator has brought us into this world to suffer? Of course not. Jesus didn't say things so. In the Lord's Prayer, He said, give us this day our daily bread. And I want to remind everyone, bread symbolizes all that makes life worthwhile. It sustains life. And of course, there are those who will disagree with this and say it means that only our needs are met, that God is not stingy, as is so evident in the universe in which we live. Look at the abundance in the universe in which we live. So let's not be stingy with ourselves and believe, and let's begin to believe for the abundant life. We have been mesmerized by the world's collective belief and separation. And it is the very thing that we must overcome in our minds if we are to live without discord in our lives. Politics, religion, psychology, and science all support this separation to a certain degree. And we have allowed them to mesmerize us into accepting something as true, which is false. The solution is so very simple, but because of its inherent simplicity, the collective consciousness dismisses it, and the solution that is so very simple, yet profound, is coming from the instructions of the Mastermind Jesus, which is to love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, and equally important, he said, to love our neighbor as ourselves. And why is this so important? Because it frees our mind from the world belief. It frees our mind from thinking that we're separated from God in any way, shape, or form, or that anyone can be separated from God. We may think we are, but in reality we can never be, because God is life itself. God is the intelligence that beats our heart, that hears through our ears, sees through our eyes, breathes through our nose. God is our all in all. God is the very life of us itself. So to love God, we must also love the divine spark of God in every living thing. And our failure to love God and the good is part of a living faith, not just say, oh, I have faith in God, I have faith in Jesus, I have faith in the Buddha. None of that matters. We must have a living faith. Faith divorced from works is just an illusion. Faith divorced from works is an illusion. We have faith, we speak our word, we see our word being made manifest. We trust in God, we see that all things work to our good. If we don't, then our faith is an illusion, because everything works to our good for those who believe and those who accept and receive in their mind the power, the presence, the intelligence of God to guide them, direct them, and to hold them in that place of knowing and understanding and believing that God is our all in all, that it's the Father that doeth the work, the Father works, as Jesus said, and then we work. It's God that's doing the work, but we must have faith that it does work, that God is working for us. To love God, we must also love the divine spark in every living thing. This is so difficult for people because they take the ideas of the world and they see good and evil. They see the good and the bad. They see the just and the unjust. We're not here to adjust to the unjust. We're just here to create within our own mind that greater mental cultivation and development of the consciousness that the kingdom of God is within me. Let's develop our consciousness to believe that the kingdom of God is within me, not low here or low there, just as the mastermind Jesus said, and start taking it into my mind that every good desire of my heart is coming to me from that intelligence where all good things, every good idea, the substance of God is ideas and images that come into our mind that guide us and lead us to that something greater. We live in a world of our own creation because we have painted the canvas of life with all that we hold to be true, and this is true in our own personal experience as well. Excuse me. This statement came to my attention, and it just kind of holds the holes in my thought because I think about how wonderful this is. A wise man learns from his mistakes. A wiser man learns from the mistakes of others. A wise man learns from his mistakes. A wiser man learns from the mistakes of others. It is believed to be a Zen proverb, but as you can see, it's no different than the Psalms or the Proverbs and the ancient scriptures or the statements of truth in the Holy Gospels. A wise man learns from his mistakes. A wiser man learns from the mistakes of others. Think about that. Why do we have to struggle? Why not look around and learn from the mistakes of others? Why not look around and find that something that works for other people's lives and say, if it works for their lives, it'll work for my life, because if I have faith in the good, that good must demonstrate in my life. In this simple wisdom, we have the opportunity to see what the consequences of our decisions and choices may be without having to personally experience them. And in this, we can realize that even so-called mistakes contain an opportunity for the realization of something good. In truth, there are no mistakes in the ultimate reality. Why? Like I said before, facts change, the truth does not. We are in God and of God, even if we don't believe it. But we don't always immediately realize that this is true, so we go through the nonsense. We go through the nonsense because we're mesmerized by the world, and until we reject that illusion of the world and move through our consciousness, piercing the veil of unreality that the world has given us, and start seeing the greater reality, the ultimate reality that God is all in all, God is all and all in all, that living Spirit of God is within every living thing, that God has incarnated a part of its own image and likeness, so that we can take dominion and authority over those things that concern us by accessing the intelligence, the spirit, and the power of God in our lives. And so we go back to those two greatest of commandments that Jesus gave us and realize that it makes entirely no sense at all not to love our neighbor as ourselves, because that's just going to stop us from realizing a greater good. It's never about anything outside of us. It's never about our neighbor. It's never about the past experience. Life is never about anything except what we hold in our mind to be true for us today. So it's not loving our neighbor. We have denied the omnipresence of God. We say there's God and there's something else. There's love and there's something else. God is love and love is God. And so we know that if we don't love our neighbor, if we do find fault with people and criticize people and we're negative about people, that we're believing in that duality. And in that duality, we'll find a duality in other things that concern us. And rather than health, we'll find unhealthiness. Rather than prosperity, we'll find financial struggle. Rather than loving companionship, we'll find arguments. So we must take those things into our mind and say, what is it that I want to live to today? What is it that I want to believe for myself today? What is it that I want to accept for myself today? What is it that I want to expand and grow into my life in a greater way so that I can enjoy this thing called life in a greater way? God is in every living thing. We have the capacity within us to change every aspect of our life. And all we must do is love more than we have ever loved before. And remind ourselves every day that facts change, the truth does not. Don't judge by appearances. Don't let ourselves get caught in it. To be in the world but not of it. As Jesus said, be in the world but not of it. And to realize that we can change every aspect of our life. if we make that choice every day. But we must make the choice every day, and sometimes we must stop ourselves during the day and renew our spirit, refresh our mind to do it again. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Judge righteous judgment. To be in the world but not of it is to be free from blind ambition, from greed, from intellectual pride, from blind obedience to custom and tradition, or in awe of persons in a higher rank or authority, or persons that feel that they have the power to take away or give to us anything. The only person that ever gives us anything is ourselves. The only person that ever takes anything from us is ourselves. And we do it through that simple law of sowing and reaping. As we sow, so shall we reap. As we believe it is done unto us, just as the Mastermind Jesus said. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you. Let's remember this. It is not a strong will that sends a subjective word, that is the word that we speak on its mission, so much as it is a clear thinking and a feeling the truth of the state affirmed. When belief and will are in conflict, belief invariably wins, not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. It is not what you want that you attract what you believe to be true. And if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believes. Therefore I say unto you, Jesus said, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you have them, and you have received them. Ask, and you shall receive. Ask, and it is given unto you. The acceptance of the end wills the means. In other words, by accepting the end result of our prayer, by saying, I believe in my prayer and the results of it, I believe in my prayer and the results of it, then we can believe, if we take that into our mind, that we have received the results of it, even if we only believe that we received it on the unseen side of life. Through faith and belief, it will draw it into our experience in the most amazing and wonderful ways, that we will be guided and directed to act on the ideas and to go and do those things, attract the people, the places, and things necessary for us to have it, to do it, and to be it. But we must pierce the veil of that mesmerized feeling of being mesmerized by the world and be in the world but not of the world, and realize that sowing and reaping, that love God above all else and love God in every person, and that everybody on this planet is our neighbor, and start realizing that it's our work. It's our work to realize that kingdom of God within us, to have that realization, just as Jesus did, that the kingdom of God is within us, not low here or low there, and stop being mesmerized by the world that tells us that heaven is somewhere beyond us, or that hell is somewhere beyond us.